Hey there, everybody. My name is Alec, and it is good to see you guys again. Today, I am going to be talking about recycling. More specifically, I'm going to be addressing recycling of plastics. Now, recycling is the most essential part of lowering our plastic consumption. I believe that every American and everyone involved or that consumes plastic on a regular basis should be recycling, and if not, needs to be recycling. Now, first I am going to talk about why recycling is important and some of the effects it is having on our world, our Earth. The first article I'm going to reference is from the New York Times. It was an article written in 2011 of August. Um, it talks about that there's about 300 million tons of plastic produced each year, which is a very, very large number. Now, only about 10% of that plastic is recycled, which is also a pretty astounding number. Now, you may be wondering what happens to the rest of that other plastic that is not recycled. Well, it is either thrown into a trash, and taken to the dump, or it ends up with the other 7 million tons that winds up in the ocean, which is very unnecessary and does not need to be there. Now that plastic that does end up in the ocean does have some consequences and does damage not just our ocean but the marine wildlife within it. And estimated, this is from the oceancrusaders.com, which is essentially a informational website that gives you all sorts of information about plastic consumption and what it's doing to marine wildlife. But they estimated that about 100,000 marine wildlife animals are killed each year due to plastic. Yeah, they're eating plastic, having it getting wrapped around their neck and suffocating them, or yeah, anything of that sort. Really, it's really mostly those two. Um, so that's a huge reason why recycling your plastic is important, and it's extremely essential to keeping our oceans clean and keeping our marine wildlife safe. Now, for the plastic that ends up in the dumps, this is also somewhat of a problem. It's an issue because plastic takes about 50 years to degrade. So that plastic will be sitting in the earth, sitting there in the dump for 50 years plus, potentially. Now you may be wondering, well, why is that such a big deal? It's going to eventually degrade away. Well, it is a big deal because potentially plastic it can get mixed in with the groundwater, and well, I don't really want to be drinking plastic, and it's definitely not safe for anybody. So having that plastic in our dumps is not really the best thing, and it's not very good having it, in our drinking water either. So that's another big reason why recycling is a huge, huge deal. Now I'm going to talk about how you can recycle and how, taking, 10-15 minutes for one day, and you can potentially set yourself up to recycle within 30 seconds or less. The main way to recycle is with plastics. That's the most common thing you see people doing. So to set yourself up for success, one of the best things to do is, if you do have a recycling bin, if you don't, you should probably call your city and ask them, say, hey, I need you guys to provide me with a recycling bin so I can do that. They generally will provide you that at no cost. I don't think there is usually a fee. Once you're provided that, just go out and buy a couple or find some used trash bins and put something that says recycling on it, and just throw it all around, throw them around your house. And then whenever you feel are using plastic and you remember to recycle, just throw it away in the recycling. And eventually that should stick with you. It's just like throwing something in the trash, except you just make one more thought and you're throwing it in the recycling. One thing that is important, if there is any residue in that plastic cup, it is good to wash it out and make sure that the recycling plant has the easiest process possible so that they can recycle that to the best of their knowledge. Some other ways, especially if you have a garden, this can, this doesn't affect plastic as much. There are some compostable plastics out there. There's some eco-friendly companies that have developed silverware, plates, cups, just about anything you can think of that is compostable. Now, composting is essentially putting, food scraps, coffee grounds, coffee filters, the list goes on and on into an area where it can degrade away and essentially be used up by the nutrients in the ground and the soil that you provide. There is a list, if you do have a garden and you do want to learn how to compost, there's a list on what is it? Small footprint or family footprint, I believe is what it is. Familyfootprint.com. 100 ways to compost. 100 things you can compost. Now, there is some new wave science that is out there that I had done a little research on myself. There are some mushrooms out there that are able to grow on top of plastic and actually eat away at the plastic. They are called microbial mushrooms. The process is called degradation of plastic. That's not really you doing anything as far as recycling, but that is some effort that has been put into the research of getting rid of plastics altogether, because 50 years is a long time, and the fact that it can potentially erode into our degrade into our soil and our drinking water really raises some red flags for me, and I think that that is a huge deal. So I hope my speech today has influenced you to maybe take some time to go and recycle some of your plastics. And, even if you have some plastics that can't be recycled, maybe just reuse them, wash them out and just try and reuse it as much as possible. Maybe go buy yourself a recyclable bag that you can use at the grocery store. Take your batteries in to get recycled. Buy some rechargeable batteries. And just look for those eco-friendly brands too. Maybe try a product just because it's eco-friendly, and you might be surprised that it's a great product and you can recycle it or compost it. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you took something away from this today and know that recycling is very important, and that you could put in about 10 minutes for one day, and you can set yourself up for success and be a successful recycler. Awesome, thank you. I look forward to you guys' feedback and appreciate you watching.